Oh boy, this one right here. This might get me in trouble, but here goes. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into another episode of Let's Talk Shop. I got a big smile on my face. Did you miss me? Truthfully, I've just been lazy. That's pretty much it. Just lazy. I get home from work and I'll start working on a show or podcast, and then my setup, my video game is right next to everything, and I look over at the video game and my controller, which is rose gold, regardless what people think, and it's like, Dorian, hey, buddy. And the next thing, my controller's in my hand, and I'm like holding it, like, oh, you're so cold. Let me warm you up. And then the game's like, okay. And then that's all she wrote. So, 3 hours later, it's bedtime. I've missed dinner. So, anyways, thanks for coming back. Before I dial in, be sure to check out two podcasts that I've enjoyed listening to weekly, as I've been putting off on my show. One is Black Cash Podcast. It's with Shane and Matt. They do theirs on Tuesday, so you can listen to on Wednesday, Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings start. There's two goofballs talking about things that are going on right now. They have a lot of interesting content. They interview a lot of people, a lot of different ideas. So check that out. That's Black Cash Podcast. And then there is Story Tell Her. And so, we all know, if you've been listening to my show, before the break, I'm not all for the way we go about the Me Too Act or the feminists, how feminists speak on women's rights. But Montia Imogeny truly shows the power of relationships and the right and the right way of relationships for women. And I think the best ways for empowering women. So check out those shows. That's Black Cash Podcast and Story Tell Her. All right. Like I said, I think some of the things I'm going to talk about today is just gonna get me in trouble. But it is what it is. So there have been numerous things in the news that I want to address or talk about, and I'm up for conversation. I always enjoy conversation, but I'm on a schedule, so I can't address them all right now. How do you fall asleep? I mean, I sometimes turn the TV on and let it watch me until I fall asleep. Of course, I set the sleep timer. But sometimes with my wife or oh yeah, I got married, so I guess it's been a minute. It's kind of cool saying that. My wife, yeah, my wife. Anyway, my wife falls asleep before me on nights off, so I don't try to be respectful, so I don't turn the TV on. I'm just rambling, but I can pretty much fall asleep anywhere at any time. I can fall asleep in the shower sometimes. It's warm. It's like a warm nap. You take a 15-minute nap in the shower. Anywho, a lot of times on my way to sleep, I do thinking. I do some thinking. That's how I kind of drift off into sleep. And I like to do my critical thinking. I think about what I'm going to say on the show or just life in general. I guess it's the worst way to transition to today, upcoming topics. But let's just say, BLM is still in the game of politics. We have discovered that Fauci has been a liar this whole time on COVID safety. Biden is a puppet. What left is holding the strings. So I ask myself, what is being told versus what is actually happening? I think the hardest thing to do is to remain objective. So I often I listen and think back to my old Democratic ways. Like I listen to NPR or just any Democratic radio podcast. I just try to, see what's going on. What are their ideas? If I had to challenge, if you're going to challenge someone on a debate, you at least need to know what they're going to say. And if you're open for discussion, you kind of want to know what a person, because the idea isn't to win the argument. It's to be, oh, I didn't see things that way, or I understand that, or I just respectfully disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. Anyway, so I only got 30 minutes. And I want to discuss academia critically. So I was at volleyball not too long ago, and for some reason now every discussion or any disagreement leads to political stance. I sometimes think, what am I saying? Am I saying something political? Because I really don't believe what I'm saying is political at all. But it's a matter of personal preference. So I was discussing, mind you, I went to school for a period of time to become an early childhood educator. I was probably about 40 to 50 credits away. I chose not to do it uh, for financial reasons, and I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. I'm familiar with what goes into academics for kids. Um, so, like I said, I chose not to do it. But recently, at a school's graduation, high school graduation, a young lady who was valedictorian gave her farewell speech, and usually this speech is about how high school was, what it was like, what we're gonna do next, good luck in the future, etc. And it's usually a person that is gonna tell a general story that everyone laughs or everyone cheers over. Hell, sometimes people cry. It's the summary of memories shared amongst your peers. Time that you will never get back. And instead of sharing these stories, this young lady decided to talk about abortion and how it is in her rights, or it's her rights are being tested, or whatever excuse women are coming up for killing babies. I know that's harsh, but it's the truth. But I'm not here today to discuss abortion. I think that episode is coming. But my argument first, hear the speech first. I got a clip for it. Hold on.
Had a bigger role in my life than he realizes. Okay. As we leave high school, we need to make our voices heard. Today, I was going to talk about TV and media and content because it's something that's very important to me. However, under light of recent events, it feels wrong to talk about anything but what is currently affecting me and millions of other women in the state. Recently, the heartbeat bill was passed in Texas. Starting in September, there will be a ban on abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, regardless of whether the pregnancy was a result of rape or incest. 6 weeks. That's all women get. And so before they realize, most of them don't realize that they're pregnant by 6 weeks. So before they have a chance to decide if they are emotionally, physically, and financially stable enough to carry out a full-term pregnancy, before they have the chance to decide if they can take on the responsibility of bringing another human being into the world, that decision is made for them by a stranger. A decision that will affect the rest of their lives is made by a stranger. I have dreams and hopes and ambitions. Every girl graduating today does. And we have spent our entire lives working towards our future. And without our input and without our consent, our control over that future has been stripped away from us. I am terrified that if my contraceptives fail, I am terrified that if I am raped, then my hopes and aspirations and dreams and efforts for my future will no longer matter. I hope that you can feel how gut-wrenching that is. I hope you can feel how dehumanizing it is to have the autonomy over your own body taken away from you. And I'm talking about this today, on a day as important as this, on a day honoring 12 years of hard.
So none of you heard it. My argument with a friend, my argument, what I felt that her speech, that was a poor choice for a platform for that type of speech. I think politics is a very sensitive subject and should only be discussed on specific platforms, like podcasts, your personal social media accounts. I mean, how many people post to Twitter, or you can post videos to Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. What is it? I can't let my daughter use it. You can use YouTube, so on and so forth. And you notice a lot of young people have more followers than even older people, so they'll be heard amongst their peers. But like I said, I just didn't think it was the right platform to to give that kind of speech. Uh, so you you see, education should be teaching you the pros and cons of abortion. They should be teaching the science behind the things that go into abortion. They should be teaching the laws. I keep saying that schools should only teach A, B's, and C's, one, two, threes. All of this subjective matter isn't it's not fair to kids. And I know a lot of us don't think, oh, like they're 18, 17, 18, they're going into adulthood. They're still kids. Like, life is extended. Kids are maturing a little later in life. They're still kids. And they're people who are pro-choice and broke, and there are people who are pro-life and broke. How about you teach how not to be broke? The conversation I was having with the young lady told me that the girl was in her right to talk about those things. She chose the right platform, and I just disagreed. Why would I disagree? Well, one, I'm pro-life. So if I'm sitting in the audience, just so you know, you can easily say two things about abortion. Half the country is for it, the other half is not. So if I'm in the excuse me, if I'm in the audience and I have to hear this girl yell about her views, I would immediately be disgusted. I feel like these are the types of conversations and views that separate people. You know, Sometimes people don't want to talk about it because it's such a sensitive subject. But this and other things that the leftist government and school boards are pushing, equity, equality. How about reality and justice? But they're teaching us things like CRT, or the critical race theory. So I I think we should challenge ourselves. I think we should be better critical, objective thinkers. Ask yourself basic questions and have simple answers. Make them as simple as possible. I know everything is in black and white, and you can't just say yes or no. And I don't want to make this a weird, unclear explanation. I think to myself, what is the benefit to my children of learning critical race theory or sex? What benefit is that to my children? Our free country was founded on basic Christian principles. There's only one law that is actually race driven, and it is designated in favor for Black Americans. And as we all know, it's affirmative action. So now I no longer agree with that law. I think it's actually a weight on Black Americans to be as good as an other American. Like, if we talk about equity and equality, I think that if we're talking about equity and equality, affirmative action, you know, is opposite of those things. I look at it as, if an American, for example, a white American, is starting a business, and they have to hire a specific amount of employees, a certain amount of them have to be Black or people of color or whatever. So Black people or people of color and they have to hire a specific percentage. That saying to me, as a critical thinker, you don't, and this is, I'm quoting this, you don't have to be better or as good as other races. And, because Asians are hurt by affirmative action as well. Well, we're how, they're like, we'll hire some of you. And there'll always be that for some, not all, but that question, am I as good as my colleagues, or am I as good as my peer? Or am I just here to meet a quota? Not all. Not everybody's gonna, question them. Some are just gonna say, "Well, here's my opportunity," which is great. But still, for the rest of us, we're gonna ask ourselves that question. When I talk to other Black people who are in positions of power, they talk about how hard it is for them as a Black person to be in that position. How do we break that train of thought? How do we rise above that? How do we say it's just tough being a person in this position? My color has nothing to do with it. Yes, some of us, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Indian, Native American, have experienced some form of racism before. So how do we make sure we're all on the level playing field? How do we ensure that we are all under the law equal? I say, for one, promoting better lives for the future. Some of our parents or older relatives feel trauma. Individual Blacks tell their own personal experience. I've done this. Individuals reach people on emotional levels. I've heard of quote unquote Black culture, and I use quotes to promote these. I'm stressing the ideologies that come behind Black culture. When Blacks tell Black and white jokes, they make the white person's life sound so much more better, so much superior. I think I got a clip. It's actually kind of funny, but there's content behind it. There's this belief behind it. To them, it's their truth behind it. So take a listen.
Blacks and cops aren't getting along. I don't know if you've seen the news in the past 400 years, but I haven't seen it. Apparently, we've hit a rough patch. My brother's a cop, actually. I don't fuck with him. I love him. I don't fuck with him. Not right now. It's too hot. I only see him Thanksgiving. And even then, I'm like, I'm reaching for the potatoes. He hates that shit. He doesn't find it funny at all. I think it's hysterical. We can't agree on anything anymore. As a country, we just can't agree. We just fight about everything. We can't even agree on Black Lives Matter. That's a controversial statement. Black lives matter. Not matters more than you, just matters. Matters. Just matters. That's why we're starting the negotiations. Matters. We can't agree on that shit? What the fuck is less than matters? Black lives exist? Can we say that? Can we say, is that controversial? We always ask for the lowest common denominator. We ask for the lowest rights. Gays were fighting for equal rights. Equal rights. Could you believe that's an actual stance you could have? You could be for equal rights. That means there's people out there saying, I think everybody should have the same rights as everyone else. And there's other people like, nah, son, I disagree. I just don't think so. Black people was fighting for civil rights, not even equal. Just civil. Can we get civil? I'll take civil rights. Just be civil. civil? Can we get civil? Turn the fucking hose on. Can we just get... They don't tell you black lives don't matter. That's not what they say. That's not the argument. They hit you with that slick shit. Like, well, all lives matter. Really? Semantics? That would be like if your wife came up to you and was like, do you love me? And you were like, baby, I love everybody. What are you talking about? I love all God's creatures. What are you saying? You're no different. Why do black people always have to get over shit so quickly? Thanks, black lady. Right? Why do we gotta get over shit? Every time we bring some shit up. Slavery. Oh, that was 400 years ago. Segregation. Oh, you guys got Black History Month out of it. Come on, we gave you February. Police shooting. That was 2 weeks. Come on, you still? 9/11. Oh, never forget. That's why this September I'm getting a t-shirt that says all buildings matter. Let me see how that works. No? You want one? I'll get you one.
I got some new shit though. I'm finna buy me a self-driving car. Fuck out of here. I'm gonna be in the back seat. You pull me over, I don't know what to tell you. Talk to the driver. Talk to the driver, officer. I'm sorry. I'm here in the back seat reading the Bible. As you can see, I'm naked with a little pit bull puppy. He's in his seatbelt. Just saying. Because it's a new world out there. This new election changed everything. Everything has changed. And don't worry, white people, we not going to talk politics. We not going to say who voted for who. We're not going to get into that. We learn white people know how to keep a secret. Y'all didn't tell us shit this election, not nothing. We didn't know white people was up to something until they started showing white people in line voting. And all the white people looked like they had a secret to keep and shit. The white people is up to something. I can't wait to see what 2018 gonna be. 2017 is already a doozy. We used to seeing people be wrong. We ain't never seen nobody be this wrong. CNN was wrong. CNN was talking big shit before the election. They had the map up, had all the states highlighted and shit. They was talking big shit. There's no way that Trump can win this unless he wins here, and here. That moment came back from commercial, they were sweating and crying and shit. They was bringing all the neighborhoods up separately. Where's the niggas vote at? White people done took over now. Shit that used to be black ain't black no more. First thing white people took over was rioting. Yes. Riots used to be some black shit. We'd get so mad, we'd riot. White people done took it over. White people, let me just say in front of all these minorities, y'all are terrible at it, white people. We taught y'all better than this. Y'all had 1 million white people out there. Y'all didn't do no damage at all. Y'all out there obeying the crosswalks and passing out orange slices, walking in single file lines. And white people, we taught y'all better than this. If it's a riot, you gotta be willing to fuck some shit up. Y'all can't fuck the shit up because y'all own the shit. So y'all out there fucking it up and cleaning it up at the same time. Not a riot, white people. White people just out there shaking their signs hard and shit. What are you doing? You using the shake weight? I'm riding. Goddamn it, I'm riding.
So, like I said, these jokes are funny, but these jokes are felt and believed. And then when you face a similar experience, you feel the situation as if they told the story, like a situation was racist. When your parents or relatives, friends, even when kids tell stories, they tell them from their personal experience, and you connect with their emotions. So I remember, I got two quick stories for you. I remember when I had a DUI. So I'm in Toledo at a Toledo bar. I knew I was drunk. I lived around a corner, literally like 2 streets over, and pull into my driveway. No lights, just 2 stop signs. And 2 of my friends who were white, like, no, let's continue to hang out. Let's keep drinking. So I'm thinking like, nah, I got a Hill 8 out. I got a suspended license. I should just go home. That's the only reason why I chose that bar, because how easily I can get home. So they're like, no, just follow real close to us and you'll be all right. And so I'm going to hang out with the 2 girls, and nothing reckless, just, outside of the drinking, but me just hanging out with 2 friends. And so I'm following behind them. I had no idea where the girl lived. So she lived in the suburbs, and I'm thinking like, oh, great. Now I'm driving in the suburbs with her. And I was young, with a suspended license, a headlight out, and I'm drinking. So I make it all the way to her apartment complex. And I passed the light. I saw the cop. It was a state trooper. He gets behind me right as I'm turning into the lot for parking. And it was one of those, like, you park and you can enter into the apartment, like the person's apartment. So I pulled over. He gets out, and it's so funny because of one of the first questions they ask you, like, because they can smell the beer or alcohol on you, and they ask you how many you had, and you say 1 or 2, and it's just like, get out the car. So he takes me out for a sobriety test. I'm thinking I'm gonna pass, because even though I know I'm drunk, I know I'm not like, and everyone. This is where people get in trouble. The law says you're drunk beyond what you should be, and I didn't think I was beyond what I should, or felt like I was beyond what I should be. So I'm thinking I'm passing the test, and finally my friend comes out, and if I feel like as soon as she came out, he started slapping the cuffs on me, and so she's like arguing with him and telling him that, like, just don't leave his car on the side of the road. Can't you move his car? And the cop actually took my car and moved it into the parking lot, into the parking spot. And when I told this story after having a DUI, and when you get a DUI, you go into for the first time, you have to spend like a weekend at a hotel where they try to, get you sober and make sure you don't make that mistake again. And you listen to other people's stories, like 40 people in there with you. I was the only one that was taken to jail. No one else in the room, but 40 people were taken to jail. Everyone else was able to go home. Granted, 2 were like underage kids who weren't drunk. They just were drinking underage. And one cop like took the person to do the sobriety test and then give him a ride home. So I'm thinking, it was just me and one other older black guy, and there was a young kid who was black, who was underage. And of all of them, I'm realizing, why was I the only one taking a jail? I'm thinking like, oh, he must have just put the cuffs on me because he saw I was with a white girl. That's what it was. He was jealous. And that's how I felt. And that's how I told the story. But when you look, you're down, I was drunk, suspended license, and I had a headlight out. That's what got me pulled over. So it wasn't a cop picking on a black guy. It was a cop. He couldn't see me. It was dark out. He couldn't see in my car. I had tinted windows. So, anyways, but when I told that story when I was young, I put emotion behind that. It was a racist issue. And when I got older, as I think about the story, there was really nothing racist about it. Like if race had to be proven, what was it? So, and then there's another story I was debating with my mother about. What we were talking about. We weren't really debating. I was expressing that I didn't think that policing in America was black people's number one issue, but she did, and she had brought up the instance where, and when you're a kid, you don't tell your parents everything. And I was in college. I think I wasn't 21 yet, but you don't tell your parents everything because you don't want them to know all the evils that you do. So you leave stuff out. And I was my close friend who was driving in like a little Saturn car, and then my brother, my cousin, and myself. We're four of us in the car, little car. We're in Inkster, Michigan. It's a suburb right outside Detroit. My friend is speeding, and I like doing 50 and like a 25. So if you want to feel like you're a target in an area that you're not supposed to be in, just I guess you shouldn't break the law anyway. Don't give them a reason to. So we get pulled over. They pull us all out of the car. My cousin's getting really, really mouthy. Usually I'm the mouthy one. And everyone used to have to tell me to shut up. And I'm always like, no, they always picking on us. But this time I was quiet because I wasn't a heavy weed smoker. But I could smell weed on anyone because I was never the one doing it. And people forget how potent the smell is. It's so recognizable. It's like either it's a skunk or it's weed. It's either burnt rubber or it's weed. And so I knew that when the cop pulled us out, I knew he smelled weed because I could smell the weed. So I didn't say anything. I was quiet that night. My cousin, like, he was making a big deal. He called up his mother. She came out. But I remember hearing the cop saying he smelled weed. And we didn't tell my mother that. She thought that when she heard the story, that the police had pulled four black young men out of a car because they were speeding. It's like, nah, ma, we got pulled out the car because it smelled like weed in the car. And it was weed in the car. My cousin hit it pretty well. So he didn't even tell us. He didn't tell us on purpose so that we wouldn't tell. But I just thought he had just smoked. And that's all I thought he smoked. It was actually weed in the car. They just didn't find it. So those are just two stories that how we already are connecting emotionally to ideas that we are being, picked on or profile. And sometimes if you do it's not the case. Just do a little critical thinking. It's really not the case. And if it is the case, what did you do not to get into trouble? It's never been a person I've ever heard clean record, no violent crimes, no history of violence, getting pulled out of a car and cooperating and then shot. Maybe, okay, I'm sorry. I do. I remember one, but it's not often. So, and I'm not here to talk about that. It's more of just, I wish instead of trying to adopt, critical race theory into schools, we should really teach things that just to kids that will help them benefit in the long run. I mentioned it in this podcast before, I think, but how beneficial would it be to teach things like credit? How beneficial would it be to teach things like balancing a checkbook? I didn't truly learn credit until I went to buy my first car. I was 26. I didn't even have a credit card. I just started to become, like, recently within the last 2 years, more balanced with my checking and savings account. Just a thought. So to bring this idea home, before I dive into other topics or dive into a whole other topic, but to stop and to become more critical. Stop teaching kids that color of their skin determines the outcome of their life. when we know someone whom we celebrate nationwide every year says, I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. If you're still listening, I forgot that I told myself I have to do this. I have to be adamant about, telling a little bit of story. I feel like if you don't know me, you get to know me a little better by these little stories. But every time I do a show, I ask myself a question, answer it. You get to know me a little better. The question of the show: how did you picture your life in the future as a child? I, I, I don't pick the questions. I just open the book, see a question. That's the question I'm going with. So, how did I picture my life in the future when I was a kid? Ironically, I told myself that I wanted 6 kids. And I know 2 of my stepchildren, and then I have 3 now, and then I'll have 1 more this September, so that'll be 6. So I mean, on a technicality, I did hit that goal. But when I first actually thought what I was gonna do with my life, I never thought about my profession. I never thought what I would be doing. I always just had this vision in my head that I would have a wife, 6 kids, and I would live in a city, and I'd be a good husband and a good father. So that I did do. However, I do not live in the city. I live in a nice area in the suburbs, peace and quiet, which I would prefer to hear a train or some horns or a highway sometimes, but it's you hear frogs outside, so it's super quiet. I did not see that coming. I didn't see the vehicles, the dog, um, I didn't picture the white picket fence, any of that kind of stuff. So those things just kind of came with the territory. Getting married and becoming a father, moving to the suburbs. So I didn't picture my profession. I did picture my wife and my kids. I did think I would be successful. There was never a time in my life where I never thought I would be successful. There was because the measurement of success isn't the amount of money you make. It's what goals do you have? Did you reach those goals? Were they, were they high goals? Were they higher living goals? Not, they're higher standard living. And I do think that I did do that, and I'm working towards better and setting more goals. So if any of you guys want to answer that question, let me know. And I would like to hear it, because I got a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends and family that I'm sure that their lives are not what they pictured. Maybe some do have had that dream, and it's turned out exactly what they wanted. But yeah, so if you do, let me know. If not, it's all good. We'll talk. Anyways, I also forgot to say, till next time, guys.
I grew up in my neighborhood. We didn't have a lot of diversity in my neighborhood. Diversity is always people's talking about it. And we didn't have it. My neighborhood was poor black, poor white. That was our neighborhood, So I didn't feel any white privilege. I know some people had it, man, I knew some motherfuckers with sweaters. But I was 2 tank tops in the winter, okay?
and I just didn't feel it, you know? I wish I'd had some white privilege, dude. Sign me up. But I didn't have it, man. It was just poor black kids, poor white kids, man. And my poor black friends would always be like, man, look what you did to us. And I'm like, dude, do you think I would do all that shit to y'all and then move right next door, bro? Now, we gonna split this plum or not, dog? We're in this together, man.